We're back. If you guys want to leave some comments about the commercial, that would be great. We're also going to switch over to the NFC. If you just joined the program, today we are talking about quarterbacks and how they've been moving around to different areas. And that's what's really, really interesting, because all these quarterbacks, there's going to be so much quarterback movement this year that it's going to be incredible. Not LeBron James said that was interesting. I'm glad you like that. Not LeBron James. I'm like, tomorrow I'm going to be like, oh, we had a lot of people who watched the show yesterday. Oh, really? Who was watching? Oh, not LeBron James.
LeBron James.
When you say not, like not, but LeBron James is watching.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we're talking about quarterbacks that are moving around. We already covered the AFC. Now we're going to move over to the NFC. Let's start with the NFC East. I think there's going to be a lot of movement in this division. Let's go over each team.
Okay, let's start with who I think is the easiest team out of the four, the New York Giants.
Listen, I think that the New York Giants are committed to Daniel Jones one more year. And I think that if he doesn't show a tremendous amount of improvement this year, that it's going to be very, 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 very difficult for the Giants to say we want to continue to stay with you. Now, in Jones's defense, New York just doesn't have a lot of weapons, and the weapons they do have are constantly hurt. So, they have a guy that could be the best running back in all of football, but I think he was hurt game one. I think he played, I want to say they played Pittsburgh in the opener, and he got hurt in the opener, and then he never came back. So, you're talking about Saquon Barkley. I mean, you lose Saquon Barkley, that guy was going to be half your offense. So you lost half your offense. They signed a couple free agent wide receivers. Both were hurt. It's a team that's just been in turmoil as far as trying to find the right superstars that they can pair up with a quarterback, trying to keep him protected, trying to find somebody he can hand the ball off to. Like if you're a Giants fan, last year was a complete nightmare, but I think they stay with Daniel Jones. What do you think?
Yeah, I guess Daniel Jones got a pass last year because the pieces around him were not playing long enough for him to be at full potential. So he gets another audition next year, and if he really doesn't do anything with a complete roster, then that's the time that the Giants will seriously think what to do with him, be it being a backup or draft another quarterback or get another one.
I agree 100%. Well, let's see. Someone just said Barkley. That was the comment. Barkley, or maybe he was commenting before, but I missed it. Go ahead. Who's next in the division?
Okay, next in the division, Philadelphia Eagles.
Oof. So who are we saying the starter is? Are we saying the starter is Jalen Hurts? Is he going to leave, or do you want to talk about all of it?
I believe that the starter for the Philadelphia Eagles next season will be Jalen Hurts. I firmly believe that Carson Wentz will be on the way out.
Okay, so you think Carson Wentz is going to go? Yeah. So here's my issue with Carson Wentz leaving. The initial reports that they tried to. So it's always interesting to me what they try to create and what's real. So if you want to see what actually happens and how they use Twitter and the certain people in the media to manipulate what's going on, Carson Wentz was announced that he was going to be traded. And all of a sudden they come out and they're like, oh, there's so much interest in Carson Wentz. Somebody already offered 2 first-rounders. Well, let me tell you something. If somebody offered 2 first-rounders for your backup quarterback who was hard to deal with last year, who was hard to coach, who's regressed at the level that Carson Wentz is, who's got the contract that's got the contract that Carson Wentz has, you're going to take 2 first-rounders.
Yes.
Lance, I'm going to tell you right now, nobody offered 2 first-rounders. Nobody offered that. And the other problem with Carson Wentz, which is what Florence is saying in the chat, Wentz is injury prone. That's right. Wentz is 100% injury prone. That is not a guy that you want to give all that. Well, listen, I don't think there's a value of 2 first-rounders. He's going to move. He's going to go somewhere. Let me ask you this. How does he go? What's the method of transportation? And what do they get back?
Okay, I believe so. If we peg the Deshaun Watson with 3 first-rounders, so it's really odd to see that Carson Wentz is just valued 1 less first-rounder, given with all he did. Yeah, given with all he did last season, he had the highest number of picks last season, and his confidence was just shot with everything that he has done for the Philadelphia Eagles. So I guess it will happen via trade, the way his mode of transportation going out, and I would put them in the same range as Sam Darnold, because Sam Darnold had no benefit of having a good team. Carson Wentz had the better team. It's just that he did not perform very well. So I guess
Yeah.
you can put them at the same range. So I wouldn't give up more than a second rounder for Carson Wentz.
Yeah. I couldn't agree anymore. Listen, if you look at what they just did with Jared Goff was in a similar position. The difference between Wentz and Goff is, to me, is so minuscule. Now, Wentz had that really good year where he was almost the MVP of the league. But Wentz has such an injury history, and both he and Goff were given contracts when they didn't need to be given contracts. Their rookie contracts weren't even up yet. There was no reason to renegotiate and pay these guys all this money. They both got paid too early. And this is a cautionary tale moving forward that people should know not to do that. Like, teams have to learn from these mistakes and not do it anymore. Now, I'll also say this. If you're looking at when you set up your trade value, you said Deshaun Watson was worth 3 first rounders. You said that Derek Carr was worth 1 first rounder. You said that who was worth was Derek Carr worth 2 second rounders?
Yeah, either 1 first round or 2 second rounders.
Okay, right. Sam Darnold was worth a second rounder. Now you're saying Carson Wentz is worth only 1 second rounder.
Yeah.
So Carson Wentz and Sam Darnold have the same value in your mind. It all comes down to taste. If you like Wentz's skill set, if you like Darnold's skill set, either way, both are second rounders.
Yeah, I agree. Because you don't you haven't gotten much assessment of Sam Darnold because he has placed in a bad situation out front as compared to Wentz, wherein he had all the weapons around him for that one season and then for the subsequent season, but apparently he regressed. So I guess that's the same range of draft trades for both of them.
Okay. I don't disagree with what you're saying. I'm just keeping score for the people at home so people understand. So Deshaun Watson is 3 draft choices, 3 number ones. Derek Carr is either a first rounder or 2 seconds. Both Sam Darnold and Carson Wentz, you say, are second round draft choices if you want to trade.
Yep.
Somebody agrees with you. Florence agrees with you. Second rounder is fair enough for Wentz. 2 second rounders. Okay, I don't know if he wants 1 or 2 there, but anyway, who's next in the division?
Okay, next in the division, the Dallas Cowboys.
So if you're the Dallas Cowboys, you have a very interesting situation in front of you. You have Dak Prescott, who could be, I'm not saying he is, but he could be a top 5 quarterback. In the past, he's kind of shown statistics like that, where he could be that top 5 kind of guy. So you could think that's your guy. Now, there's another situation that can come up here. Dallas is within striking range of getting inside that top 5 or 6 to get one of those top quarterbacks. So if you really like one of those quarterbacks, you can say to yourself, okay, we'll take the downgrade, but we'll get the upgrade in the fact that over the next 5 years, we don't have to pay Dak Prescott kind of money. And if we let Dak Prescott go, next year we'll get a compensatory pick back for him.
Mm-hmm.
Or, and here's the other thing, and this is where you're going to come in, or the other thing is they could sign and trade him. So they could put Dak on a franchise tag and then trade him. Dak Prescott coming off of a broken, whatever the hell was wrong with him. He was absolutely crushed, whatever was wrong with his leg. I don't know if it was an ankle, leg, whatever. Snapped in half. Dak Prescott coming off of an injury like that, where do you think his value is if he was put under a franchise tag and was traded? What do you think the value of the trade is?
Well, the problem with the franchise tag is that you have less suitors because that's around $37 million for 1 year. And there's not a lot of teams with that much salary cap going into the season. But if we have Deshaun Watson with 3 first rounders.
But let's assume for the sake of argument really quick that you could franchise him, you could trade him, and then the other team could renegotiate that. And this would all be done in advance. Somebody will go in and renegotiate and say, look, you're getting $37 million. We can only pay you blah, blah, blah. But he is asking for a lot of money. He is asking for a lot of money and a short contract. That's the thing you have to remember about Dak. Dak does not want to be on a 5-year contract. Dak wants a 3-year contract because he wants to go back into the market again. And that's been the problem in Dallas. That's why he has not signed the contract with them. So with all this in mind, what is the value of Dak Prescott?
I believe it's a fair value for Dak Prescott for any team to give up one first rounder and one second rounder.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess that's a fair deal because you still got a first rounder and then you get a number two from that team, preferably from the same draft because as we know, he just came off injury and we don't know yet how he's going to perform after the surgery. Will he be
Okay.
the promising Dak Prescott or will he be a shell of his old self?
So because of all of these factors, because of the contract and the difficulties in the contract, because he only wants a short-term contract, and because of the injury, you're going to say a first rounder and a second rounder, preferably in the same draft. So that's his value.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Agree.
Who else is in the division?
Okay, last in the division, the Washington football team.
Okay. So the Washington football team did a very interesting thing this year. And I was a little bit shocked by this. So they started off the year with I forgot his name now. He just signed with Pittsburgh. Actually, he was their first round drafter. Yeah, Dwayne Haskins was their Dwayne Haskins was their starter. If I'm correct here, Dwayne Haskins was their starter. Their second on the depth chart was the kid they brought over from the Carolina Panthers, and then third on the depth chart was Alex Smith. So they had those three guys were number one, number two, number three. All of them are hurt, and they've got to play Heineke. Taylor Heineke?
Yeah,
they've got to play Heineke. Yeah, they've got to play Heineke. Heineke plays lights out in the divisional round of the playoffs. And they just signed Heineke to a contract. One that is not a starter's contract, but not a cheap one either. So this guy got himself, I believe, a $4 million, $5 million contract every year. So is Washington thinking to themselves, we've got a cheap starter for the next few years? We'll give this guy a shot for the next few years. We've got a cheap starter. Or is he now a really expensive? Did he earn himself an expensive backup? Like what's happening there? What do you think is going on in Washington?
I believe Washington starting quarterback will be Alex Smith. He declared that he wants to come back in 2021. But the main consideration for the Washington football team is that he will take a big cap hit if he does return. But the nature of Heineke's contract is just for 2 years for around $9 million in total. So you're saying to Heineke that if ever something happens to Alex Smith, you'll be the guy. But they are not, mind you, that they're not really ready to make that commitment yet because compared to other quarterbacks in the NFL, that's still a cap-friendly deal, $9 million for 2 years. So it's like,
wait a minute. It's not a cap friendly deal when you look at the fact that he's your second. I guess he's your backup quarterback. Is he your backup? He's your number one backup. What is that? What is that number valued at? I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that what did Dallas sign the redhead for? I'm trying to think of what they signed him for. I want to say his contract was like $6 million over 2 years. And he's a proven starter in the NFL. So when you look at the value of what he got in Dallas, are you looking it up right now?
1 year, $3 million.
Oh, he only got 1 year, three. Okay. There wasn't a second year option for three more, a team option. Okay, so it was only $3 million. So whatever it was, Andy Dalton was only $3 million. So you give Andy Dalton $3 million, who has a proven track record. This guy played one game, and you just gave him $4.5 million a year. Like, where does that number come from? What does that signify? Does that signify he's going to get a chance to be the starter, or does it signify that like we didn't know what else to do, so we just paid you a bunch of money because we think you might be okay? Like he wasn't on the roster to start the year.
Yeah, it was like a part-time player and was completing his engineering degree before all of this madness happened to him. But let's not forget also, he is in Washington, and Washington is prone to overpaying players. We know Dan Snyder has always been at fault with that. So if you're asking me where did that value come from, well, maybe they just created it by themselves because it has been an issue with the Washington football team for so long. They overpay players.
I guess again, I'm still completely lost by the idea of it. I just don't even know what to make of it. As soon as I heard it, I was like, well, that's such an odd number. Like, who were you competing? Like, who were you bidding against? Like, who was the guy that you were bidding against to you know what I mean? Like, who else was after this guy? You don't have to pay that kind of money. It's just an odd thing for me. I don't know. Anyway, Washington is one of those teams I don't really understand. So I guess that's one of those things we'll have to see how it plays out.